Why isn't anyone talking about this? The American economy just clocked in a 3% growth rate in the second quarter. That's not just decent, that's strong. Stronger than what the so-called experts over at the Wall Street Journal predicted, and a whole lot stronger than what the media would have you believe. But here's the real question. Why is this happening now? After months of doom and gloom headlines, recession warnings, and endless babble about collapsing confidence and economic uncertainty, why does the economy suddenly look, well, not terrible? Today we're going to dig into what's really driving this surprise rebound because behind the numbers, there is a much bigger story. One that includes tariffs, Trump, global trade manipulation, consumer psychology, and a Federal Reserve that's been more interested in saving face than saving you. Let's begin with the numbers. The US economy grew at an annualized 3% rate in Q2. That's higher than the 2.3% that economists forecasted. It's a major reversal from the first quarter when GDP actually shrank by 0.5%. So what changed? The answer lies in a single word: trade. More specifically, a trade system that was jolted on purpose by the Trump administration's tariffs. For years, the United States has played the sucker in the global economy. We've imported cheap goods, offshored our factories, and bent over backwards for countries like China, countries that steal our intellectual property, manipulate their currency, and violate every so-called rule of global trade. President Trump called their bluff, and businesses, expecting those tariffs to ramp up, rushed to import goods before the penalties hit. That front-loading of imports tanked Q1, but it also set the stage for the rebound in Q2, because once the flood of imports dried up, the data flipped. Imports fell off a cliff, down 30%. Exports dropped a bit too, but nowhere near as drastically. The result? GDP shot up. In other words, Trump's trade policies, reviled by the press, mocked by the academics, feared by Wall Street, are doing exactly what they were designed to do: jolt the system, and guess what? It's working. Now, let's not pretend everything is sunshine and, roses. There's still weak spots. Business investment has slowed. Housing is getting hammered by high interest rates. And as usual, the Fed is playing it safe, sitting on its hands while Americans struggle to buy homes or grow their businesses. But here's the thing that no one wants to admit. This recovery is happening in spite of, not because of, the Federal Reserve. While Trump has been urging rate cuts to unleash more consumer and housing activity, the Fed has held firm, paralyzed by its obsession with controlling inflation. Yes, inflation is still running above their 2% target, but not by much. Pork prices rose just 2.5% in Q2, a slowdown from earlier this year. So again we ask, why are they dragging their feet? Because the Fed does not want to give Trump credit. That's the unspoken rule of modern economics. If something works under a Republican president, it must be dangerous, unscientific, or worse, populist. The same economists who called Trump a threat to global economy are now scrambling to explain why, under his leadership, GDP is growing, unemployment is near record lows, and consumer confidence, while fragile, is slowly rebounding. Speaking of confidence, let's talk about the American people. Because while the media obsess over recession fears, ordinary Americans are still spending. Consumer spending grew at 1.4% pace in Q2. Nothing explosive, but steady. And given how shaky consumer sentiment was earlier this year, that's remarkable. Why is that important? Because consumer spending makes up over 2/3 of our entire economy. If people stop spending, the engine stops turning. But they have not. They're still working, still buying, still believing. And that's the part no one in the elite class understands. Regular Americans don't care about macroeconomic theory. They care about whether they can afford groceries, pay their mortgage, and maybe, just maybe, go out to dinner without maxing out a credit card. Which brings us to another point, jobs. The unemployment rate was a low 4.1% in June. That's healthy. And job creation actually picked up in Q2, averaging just under 150,000 new jobs a month, up from 111,000 in Q1. Not bad, considering the relentless fearmongering from the press. So, what is the disconnect? Why do we keep hearing that the economy is on the brink, that the average American is crushed, that things are worse than ever? Because the corporate media needs you scared. Fear drives ratings. It keeps people glued to their screens, and more importantly, it justifies big government intervention. The more afraid you are, the more willing you are to accept unelected bureaucrats making decisions for you. But here's what they won't say out loud. The economy is not collapsing. It's correcting, it's adjusting, and in some ways, it's healing. Let's not ignore the challenges. Procter& Gamble, the company behind Tide, Charmin, Pantene, says consumers are delaying purchases, using up pantry supplies, and shopping less. That's a real red flag. It means people are stretching their budgets. But that does not mean the economy is tanking. It means Americans are doing what they've always done in hard times, adapting. And the irony, the belt tightening is exactly what helps stabilize inflation. So again, we ask, why is the Fed so scared to act? Why is Wall Street still treating Trump's tariffs like a threat instead of reset? Because these institutions were not built to serve you. They were built to serve the status quo. A status quo where China gets rich on our labor, where southern border is a revolving door for cheap workers, and where American manufacturing is a punchline. But Trump said no. He said we're bringing jobs back. He said we're putting American workers first. And that message, love it or hate it, has changed the trajectory of our economy. Let's be honest, this is not Reagan economics. It's not Clinton-era globalism. This is something new. A mix of populist economic nationalism, tough talk, and trial by fire policymaking. Is it messy? Yes. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But look at the results. The economy is growing. Tariff threats are reshaping global trade. Businesses are cautious, yes, but they're also watching closely, waiting, preparing, because something has shifted. The rules of the game are changing, and for once, America might actually be in a position of strength. That's what the 3% GDP growth really means. It's not just a number, it's a signal. A signal that the old model, import everything, outsource jobs, trust the Fed, is being replaced. That maybe, just maybe, a president who's willing to take risks and break norms can actually move the needle. So, as the experts wring their hands over inflation, and as CNN peddles another Trump ruined everything narrative, ask yourself, is the economy really collapsing? Or are the people in charge just mad that it's not collapsing on schedule? That's the real story. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.